The system tests are here to ensure that each object's repository functions are working properly. For example, a flight repo needs to be able to get all the flights based on key details. It has to be able to get a specific flight, add a flight, update a flight, and delete a flight. In order to create a system test, we create the class and add any private variables we may want. Generally, we will want everything that the object we are testing needs, like how a flight needs a route and a pilot. We'll also want the context for our database in order to run these tests. Tests will always start with a setup portion, which is indicated with these square brackets in the keyword setup. We get an instance of the database using the singleton test setup class, and then we set up any variables we need and add them to the database, such as our pilot and our route. We also have some helper functions to create flights and add them to the database for testing. Every test starts with the label test in these square brackets, just like with setup. Since all of our repo functions are done asynchronously, our tests must be async too. Every test starts with getting an instance of the flight repo based on the current context, and then creating a flight. This is the arrangement portion of our tests. Then we act and assert. In this case, acting involves using our repo's add function. This function returns an async task, so we must await the result of the action. We then check what is in the database using our system link library as opposed to the repo's search function, and then assert the value returned was not null, meaning that the flight that we had just added was indeed added to the repo. Our test for ensuring that a flight was deleted is very similar. We assemble, we act, and then we assert. After the tests, we want to leave the database how we had found it, hopefully empty. And in order to do this, we use the teardown method, which is indicated with the square brackets followed by the keyword teardown. Now, in this case, we're getting an instance of all of the flights in our database so far and going through each flight and removing it from the context. We then save the changes to the context, and we do the same thing with any pilots that we may have added in any of our tests.